Hi, welcome to Marlene at Home. And I'm Marlene. I'm the Adult Services Supervisor at the North Carroll branch of the Carroll County Public Library. This week, I'd like to talk about used furniture finds and the fun of finding things for your home. People sometimes ask me, where did you get your furniture? In our married life, we have hardly ever bought a new piece of furniture. There are a few. Most of our rooms are filled with used furniture, and used furniture finds are so much fun. Fun to look for, fun to be struck with out of the blue, and so I'd like to share some of them with you. And I don't go to antique stores all the time, rarely even, but just as we were newlyweds and accumulating furniture for our home. They came in a variety of ways. I thought I'd tell you some of the fun stories. This piece my husband bought at a used furniture store. All we know is that it came from some factory, and but it had been used, and so I came home one day from work and he found that for this corner, and so we've enjoyed that. Our dining room set was quite the story. I won't give you all the detail of it. But my husband's a big hunter and buying and trading guns, and so he had made an appointment to go meet a gentleman, an owner of a small gun shop in his home. For the following week, he went there and nobody answered at the little gun shop that was attached to the house, so he went to the front door and a dear lady answered. My husband explained he was there for an appointment with a gunsmith. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She said, "My husband just passed away." And she was in tears. Paul felt very sad. And so anyway, they talked for a while, and Paul's like, no, just go in and look, buy what you want. And he's like, no, I'm not getting into this situation. You shouldn't say that to people. And just really wanted to protect her from any wrongdoing by others in that scenario. And so anyway, she asked him, she said, "Well, I have to move, I'm leaving my home, I have to move my son, do you need any furniture?" Well, my husband was a new pastor. We had been married for a number of years, and we moved into a parsonage, and it was pretty empty. We were just going to be there temporarily, and but we needed some furniture. And so he said, I do need some furniture. And he said, "But you should talk to your children." He said, "I don't want to buy anything." And so I believe it was his son that called and said, yes, they did need to sell some things. And so our dining room set came from that dear family's house, and it was handmade. Our dining room set was handmade by an Amish family, or an Amishman, in the Lancaster area sometime in the 1930s or 1940s. Not all of the pieces, we bought all of the pieces, but not all of them fit into our home. One of my favorites is the corner cabinet, and so we have loved that. The side table, and then this also has, when we're having dinner, our chairs are at the table, we can pull this up on both sides and we can put our dishes of food here. It had two of these, we only kept one. It had a harvest table, which is very long and narrow, and some benches, and it wasn't something that I wanted, so we sold the harvest table, one of the side tables. It also had a huge ornate buffet. It would have covered 2/3 of this wall, and then it had the carving like this, all up like this, maybe this high. Kind of reminded me, my grandmother had one, not that high, but my grandmother always had one in her dining room, a buffet, but we just didn't have the room for every piece. And so we sold the harvest table, the other side table, and the buffet. Just in a newspaper ad used, but we kept these items. We had a friend that lent us a table for a while, a very beautiful antique cherry table, and then when they needed that back, we bought a cherry table, Pennsylvania house table, but used, not a new one, and so that completed the set for us, and we have enjoyed it for many, many years. And so we've got many compliments, we've got lots of people that have offered to buy it, but anyway, we just love it. And inside of this is some china that we bought in Williamsburg at the Pottery Outlet on our honeymoon, and so that's a fun thing that we have in there. This high chair, many of a child has sat in it, but this high chair was my dad's as a child. And of course then his sister as well used it, but we've used it throughout the generations in our family. So we are very glad to have this. This is a doll of my mom's when she was a child. We've just recently been cleaning out my mom's attic, and so we found there 3 chairs, 1 rocker, 2 chairs like this. The caning was all broken, the chairs were in pretty rough shape, and my husband just took them and had the caning redone, and came out very lovely. We didn't have them refinished, they're just kind of, we didn't want to spend much money, but they've just kind of been cleaned up. And so right now we have more pieces of furniture than we know what to do with, so we're still looking for where we're going to use this. And one of my grandsons tells me how much he loves this because he saw them ugly, dusty, dirty, the broken seats, and so he's so impressed how we got these fixed. So we told him, your name's on it. This is one of my favorite pieces in our dining room, this tea cart. Paul's mom, she and a good friend of hers, they really enjoyed going out, looking at secondhand furniture shops, antiquing, and this is something that Mom had in her dining room, and I always have fond thoughts of thinking her and her dear friend out having, the girls having fun, out looking for things that they could add to their home. And so this was something that when Mom passed away that she left with my name on it. And so I was very thrilled to get Mom's little tea cart and add that to my dining room. Another one of my used furniture stories that I love to think about is my kitchen table. I was a young teen when my grandmother said to my mom, you know, I'd like to have a drop leaf table to have in front of my picture window in the living room. And I'd like to put a big tall lamp on it that would be easily seen as people drive in the driveway and be a nice welcoming light coming into the house as well as using it in the living room. My mom started looking around at used furniture, looking at ads, looking at newspapers, and I remember the day as a young teen. She took me to see this table, this set. I remember the people, I remember the house. It was just in the little town where I grew up. And we went, and it was an Ethan Allen set, drop leaf table. It also came with custom table pads that you could put on the top so you wouldn't get marks on the table, so that was a nice feature. It also had the 2 chairs, and I always loved the Ethan Allen chairs that came with it. And so my grandmother used it for many years, but when she and my grandfather were breaking up housekeeping, I always told my grandmother I had admired it because I always thought of these chairs, that I would like to see them together again someday. I bought this for my grandmother for $25 just before I was married. It was kind of like a special thing to take into my marriage with me. Anyway, bought this table. My mom had had the chairs over the years, but they had gotten really worn and used. And so my husband and I, we had the chairs recaned and we had the chairs refinished. We've never had the table refinished. The pads have done a pretty good job. One of the things I've really liked about this table is that it has springs that come up, and so very sturdy, has withstood children and now grandchildren, leaves that come up. And so in my kitchen, I just leave it up like this with the table pads on it, and usually a tablecloth, definitely a tablecloth on it over the pads. But you will see a mark, a pizza mark. One time I didn't have the pads on. Sometimes I like just to see the wood, but a hot piece of pizza on a napkin left a lifelong impression here on the table. But it's a family memory. Someday I'd like to have the table refinished to match the chairs. I usually keep these chairs around each end of the table, the Ethan Allen chairs, because of the tall backs. But I have some fun stories about the other chairs around the table. These 2 chairs I got from my Aunt Anna, and I like that side of my family always wrote who the chairs, where they came from, whose they were. And this one says, from E. Edwin Hanaway home. And that was my Aunt Anna's husband, Uncle Herb. He was adopted as a child, and I believe he was taken in as a foster child, and he lived with the Hathaways, and these chairs were given to him when he and my aunt got married, and then they were passed down to me. So I used these two on this side of the table. And then this was my father's when he was a child. It's called a youth chair. My Aunt Anna gave me this when I had children, and so my children have used this youth chair, and now my grandchildren use it. I have 5 grandchildren. I have 1 youth chair. So usually there's a little bit of a battle as to who gets the youth chair. So here's just a few of my stories so far. Let me tell you another one in a moment. In my living room, almost everything is used furniture. I was really thankful when a friend of mine gave me 2 of her Pennsylvania house end tables. I have one here, one at the other end of the couch. So that's been a very fine memory, as well as the lamps on top another friend gave to me. One of my biggest, wonderful surprises was to be gifted with this baby grand piano. I always said a living room, a home is not a home unless it's a living room with a baby grand piano, just because I grew up with one in my home. And this piano was owned by a very precious person to me. Aunt Beattie Downs was just a dear saint in my home church that influenced me greatly with music, helped me practice songs for vocal music, played for me, accompanied me with playing violin, my sister and I on duets, and so we called her Aunt Beattie, just a dear friend. This was her piano, and when she was not able to use it anymore, then someone very kindly purchased it and gave it to me as a surprise, and I was thrilled. And so, very special for me to have Aunt Beattie Downs' grand piano. The next thing is my grandmother's desk. My dad's mom, I've just recently moved it out here to the living room. It still isn't my favorite spot yet. I'm still deciding, but getting these new things from my mom's attic, we've kind of had to move things around right now. But I can remember her sitting here at her desk and writing letters, reading her Bible, reading books, and so very special memory for me. One of the things I love about that side of my family, as I mentioned out in the kitchen, is that they would write messages on the bottom of the chair. This one's very faint, but it says, "A wedding gift to Margaretta Ryder Julian," that was my grandmother, wedding June 18th, 1913, in Ardmore, Pennsylvania, when she married my grandfather, and it gives my grandfather's name as well. And so that was very special, and I like that. Something as we close out here, now this desk, we did purchase this desk. Of everything in this living room, let me think. We purchased this desk, we purchased a wing back reclining chair, we purchased a sofa table, and a it's called a tea table in front of the sofa. We purchased that. Other than that, everything else has been purchased, used, or has been given to us used. And this is another one of those wedding gift chairs. I guess it was the wedding gift to give of that era. It says something very similar to that desk chair. Wedding gift of Margaretta Ryder Julian, June 18, 1913. Wedding in Ardmore, marriage to, and my grandfather's name is all there. And so, that just tells you a little bit of some of the fun stories of used furniture in my house. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have enjoyed the blessing of used furniture, gifts and hand-me-downs. Very special to me. I'm not the craft person, I'm not the artist. I can't take something that looks terrible and make it look beautiful. So I'm very thankful that I've been able to have a number of wonderful hand-me-downs to use throughout our married life. Thanks.